Today on the show, strategy plus action equals hidden solutions and powerful networking. Great coaches and consultants like you have the ability to change people's lives and transform entire organizations. And your impact can often go far beyond the clients you work with. One of the reasons I love working with coaches and consultants is because of that ripple effect. This show is here to highlight your expertise and empower you with resources and new ideas to grow your business. Welcome to Strategy in Action. Dena Woulfe is on the show today, and we have a blast talking about not only what she's an expert in, which is helping people, find those hidden problems that are going on with their health, whether it's showing up in some big giant way that no one can figure out, or sometimes it's folks just not having the energy or not understanding why they just don't quite perform the way they used to mentally, physically. And she's got an incredible technology that helps diagnose that and then help them with the solution that just transforms lives. And you'll hear a couple of examples of those, and it's honestly mind-blowing how amazing that it works. But we also have a blast talking about her business doing what she does, going from being a nurse for 20 years into now a business owner providing this amazing service. And of course, making a transition like that, it comes with challenges. And the biggest one for her was her network of people. She moved halfway across the country as well during this transition. And she had to figure that out really quickly, how to network, how to find a group of people that she could align with to, build business with. And she did that. And she thrived in that. And it shows up now. I'm someone who's been on the receiving end of her amazing networking skills. And introducing folks is such an art and a purposefulness for her, and it shines through. It's fantastic. There's so much you're going to love with this interview. Let's jump in. Dena Woulfe, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Oh, yeah, this is going to be a blast. I know already from the conversations we've already had in the past. And my goodness, I can't just express my gratitude enough of the connections you've made since you and I have met. Just phenomenal people. And without a single exception, the first thing we talk about every time is, oh, yeah, Dena. And it's just, oh, yeah, Dena's amazing. I've known Dena for years. I've known her for 2 weeks. I've known her for months and months. And just the greatest praise. And I know it happens because it's so important to you, because you are so intentional with that connecting and all of that. And I know we're going to get into that a little bit, but yeah, I really wanted to have you on the show to talk about, a couple of core concepts here that I think are fascinating. And one is this idea of really how you help people so much on the health side of things. And we're going to get into a lot of that and the specifics on how you help folks. But, with a lot of coaches, consultants, in the business world, they're there to really help that business owner uncover the hidden problems, right, that are happening. And you do that so well with people's health and energy and life and food and all of that. That's just amazing. So I want to dig into a lot of ways of how you're doing that, and oh my gosh, and then how that relates in mindset and energy, and helps all of our businesses and lives, and it's all interconnected there. So enough of my talking and setting all this up. Let's give the audience some context here of what you're doing for folks now and what kind of got you to that space.
Yeah, great question. So I've been a nurse for 2 decades, and I quickly realized we don't really get to the root of the problem. We do something called symptom managing, and that's great. But when we want something gone, or we want to kind of tackle it from a different perspective and not have to deal with it for the rest of our lives, we can look at what is the underlying cause, and that's what I do. I shifted my focus from kind of looking at that symptom management to more of a holistic aspect of things when I teamed up with a naturopath. So she showed me how to use this amazing tool called biocommunication. And so I look for your deficiencies, your toxicities, your things like fungus, virus, mold, bacteria. I mean, you name it, it probably comes up on my list. And so it gives me an idea of what's happening within the body. It's kind of like a really extravagant lie detector, if you will. And that's kind of the technology that it uses, which is really awesome. And so I've been able to help thousands of people recover their health. And one of the things that I am able to do is work with business owners. So I moved to St. Louis in 2018, not knowing a single person. My business coach told me, you're going to have to network. I had not networked in my business at all up until that point. I was just constantly busy. And I didn't even have people just come out of the woodwork for me. And it was great. But then when I moved to a new area, it was like, so now I'd have to find, clients all on my own. And so networking has been a huge component. And most people I meet are business owners.
Give me an idea in the audience, and a better idea too of how the technology works, and I guess specifics, right? Like, hey, I'm experiencing this. I don't know what the heck's going on. No one can figure it out. And then, because
Yeah.
I know you have those kind of stories, right? And then here's what we found for them. Because what pops up in my head when I first hear is like, oh, it's like allergy testing thing, and it's so far beyond that, right?
It really is. Yeah. So it reads what's called the galvanic skin response in your body. You are a bunch of electromagnetic energy. That energy gets read and recorded into my software. So I'm able to see the deficiencies and toxicities, but not in an invasive way. So I don't take blood or anything like that. It's all done energetically, which sounds really weird, but I will tell you the results are phenomenal. So like when I say that, like people are like, huh? But it does work very similarly to a lie detector. And so I don't ask my clients anything at all. I basically just let the system do everything for me, which is really cool. And sometimes they're like, well, I'm not going to tell you anything. I'm just going to see what you say, and then I get it spot on and they're like, how do you know that? So it's really awesome. So one of the things I do test for are food sensitivities. So I feel like there are so many, I call them frankenfoods, foods that our body doesn't really recognize anymore because we've hybridized, genetically modified, or, altered them in some sort of fashion to where now it's like corn and wheat are a good example. We don't really recognize what they are, and the body does not process them the same way they did when we were kids. And so when we eat them, it causes an inflammatory response usually, and things called like leaky gut. So my job, what I do is the client comes to me, maybe they've been to the doctor, like you said, several times. They are not getting the answers that they're looking for. Maybe they did get some answers, but they don't like the way that the treatment is going to go. Maybe it's something, very toxic. Those are my kind of people that I like helping. Another one is someone who has digestive upset. They've been dealing with it for a while. They've maybe or maybe not kept a food journal, but it feels like everything they eat is causing them digestive upset. So I pinpoint exactly what it is. The cool thing about my tool is I test for 482 different foods. Most do like 5 to 60. And in those 482, mine breaks it down by number. So it'll be a positive number or a negative number or a zero. The zero is a neutral food. I call those fillers. The things that are positive, I call restorative, regenerative, and repairing. So when you put majority of the positive foods in your body, guess what you get? Healing, right? And then when we have I call the other ones fire, the ones that are negative, and those are inflammatory, destructive, they cause chaos. So the more we can take out those and add things that are positive, the more the body starts to act like how it was designed.
Oh, that's great. So yeah, because it's teaching. I mean, your body's creating like almost more like a foreign object to some of these things rather than a food, right?
Yeah.
The ones who are on that negative side of things. And is some of that because of both the genetically modified aspect and all of that, as well as just kind of individual body types and everything that some people can handle it, some people can't?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I see a lot of wheat sensitivity, corn sensitivities, and soy. And I'll usually pinpoint which ones are the most inflammatory for my client. And what it does is it just helps them not have to do like an elimination diet. An elimination diet is very difficult for a lot of people to do. So I take that guesswork out of it for them and just tell them, hey, let's give your body a break by being wheat free for a while. Let's try 6 weeks. 6 weeks of wheat free. Let's go ahead and add it back in. Let's see what happens. Because over time, I feel like you become very dull to what is actually going on in your body, and you accept symptoms as I'm aging, or that's just the way my digestive system works. And we sign these contracts of how our body is acting. And sometimes we want to burn those and start something new and fresh that's, not so destructive. And I help you do that as well. But finding out exactly what it is really and taking a break from it really does help your body break down and counterbalance that inflammatory response, and then help your body recover and start acting like it's designed to.
Oh, that's wonderful. And and that leads me into this aspect of how we feel, our energy, starting from the food intake, and then how we go through our day, like, affects everything. Absolutely every aspect of our lives. And that's why I want to make sure that anybody watching, listening, we're not just talking about, oh, someone has some undiagnosed crazy wild issue and we're finally getting that healed. This is for everybody, right? We all, like you said, we all have some level of like, oh yeah, that's just what happens when I eat this or I do this. In this, that slow dulling is almost worse than something, happening and like, oh my gosh, emergency time, let's get this thing figured out. That slow dulling and slow accepting, well, now that you're years down the road and you just don't really perform the way you used to. And that's what I love about what you're offering folks, is this nice slap in the face and going, like, that's not how things are supposed to be. Let's get that fixed for you. And then I would imagine that besides just, symptomatic kind of things, the end result is this higher energy, better outlook on life. Are you seeing those kind of results from your folks as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think of Steve Jobs when you're explaining that. I think of Steve Jobs. Like, he had all the money in the world. He had, tons of people and resources at his fingertips, but he didn't have his health. Like, he had to succumb to the design of his cells, so to speak, right? But if he rewinded back and made a few tweaks and changes, may things have been a little different for him? Probably, And so I think about, like, first of all, like, what kind of vision do you have for yourself? What is your blueprint of what you want your health in your life to look like? We all have these different areas of our life that we should cast a vision for, and health is one of them, because I feel like if you don't have your health, what do you have? Like, if you're being eaten up by a disease, it doesn't matter what you're doing in business, right? It's a moot point, but if you can target your health and you can work on the things that are beneficial to you internally, I feel like that seeps into all other areas of your life when you do have your health. And so I really do feel like it is one of the things that must be addressed.
Oh yeah. And you've got to, like, because it's one of those things that that filters into everything, whether it's, trying to work on your business, come up with ideas, much less just function day to day, right? As well as, your relationships, everything, and just how you show up in this world. I think it's really powerful to get that fixed and figured out. And, I think some of us are, always looking for the thing, and, the what's going to get me to that next level. We look at that in our business, and a lot of times we miss it on, the human hacks, right? Like the human side of, like, how can I, get a little bit more performance out of my brain, out of my body when I show up.
I love it. I absolutely love seeing the transformation. And you had asked me before, like, what it looks like. And one of my most favorite stories to share is a friend of mine introduced me to a girl, and she was literally in the bed, fibromyalgia so bad, her husband used to have to pick her up, take her to the bathroom, pick her back up, put her back in bed. And she had little kids. She was getting anxiety. She's Hispanic. Her husband, she's thinking, my husband's not going to stay with me. How am I going to take care of my kids? Like, this isn't what my husband signed up for. Like, what is this going to look like in several years if I keep on this road? And so it would just cause her like panic. Her mom and her dad both passed away under the age of 50 from massive heart attacks. So she had that like weighing on her head. And then she was 35 when I met her. She had already had a stent placed. So she's thinking, am I even going to live long enough to raise my children? And so within a week, so I did what I do. I found what food sensitivity she had. I put her on high quality supplements that were designed specifically for her body. And within a week, she was up at the gym. And this girl runs Spartan races now, and you would never, ever know that she ever had that kind of debilitating health issue. Never know.
That quickly?
Yeah.
Holy smokes. And so what was it there? Was it like that sensitivity? Was it something not being produced by our body? What was that cause that you fixed?
Yeah, she had an underlying thyroid issue that we found and addressed. She had a wheat sensitivity. And so she also had like eczema really bad too. So usually that's something that you're eating. A lot of skin stuff happens from eating things that we shouldn't be eating. And so just removing the wheat, she's been able to recover. No more eczema, no more fibromyalgia type symptoms. Those have gone completely away. She's worked with her cardiologist really, really closely to stay on natural ways to kind of keep her cardiovascular health under control without having to go on a whole lot of medications, which is great. And so in that regard, like, she's been able to really dodge a lot of bullets, being in control of her lifestyle and her health.
That's so strong. Yeah. Oh man, I can see why that's your favorite story. I love this approach. And so I'd love to go back to what you talked about on the business side as you're building this, and you made that move in 2018. And I think that's really interesting. And I'm just kind of glossing over the fact we're going from 20 years as a nurse to owning your own business and doing this. And it's an easy understand overlap wise health, with the health component, and the intention that you had then and the intention you have now, you see that commonality. But that's a big leap, right? Talk to me about that leap from there and business ownership and what got you to this particular, business to go and start.
Well, I mean, it started with my mom, she had rheumatoid arthritis, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, hypothyroid, plantar fasciitis. She was pre-diabetic, and she was about 60 pounds overweight. And passing out from her blood pressure meds and getting anaphylaxis from her allergy shots. And so everything that I currently knew at that point was not working for her. And so at that point, I was like, Mom, you can't drive, number one. And number two, we're going to have to find alternative ways to help heal your body. And I had already... when we were growing up, my parents were divorced. And so in order to go see a doctor, we'd have to drive an hour and a half. And so we really did what we could to manage our health naturally, to not have to make that drive. And so it's kind of like one of the things that we were good at anyway was improvising. And so, of course, I went back to, the holistic realm of things. What can we do to help your blood pressure? And, you start studying a whole lot of different avenues and find out that grapefruit is a natural blood pressure reducer. So also works really well on reducing your cholesterol naturally. And it's a great way to help reduce a lot of the unwanted symptoms that occur as well. And then I read hey, we can add a green smoothie and that's going to help even more, and so we started kind of down this path, and then I met a naturopath who showed me how to use this biocommunication tool. And then my mom we found out she had a wheat sensitivity as well, took her off the wheat, put her on good quality supplements, and then she recovered, dropped 60 pounds within about 3 or 4 months, which was just oh my goodness, that wheat was keeping you chunky this whole time. It was crazy. And so for me, at that point, realizing I had those 2 major, huge patients or clients that were seeing amazing results, at that point, I was like, why am I not doing this for everybody I know? This could help so many people. This aligns with my belief system and what I got into nursing for in the first place. This is amazing. And so that made that transition a whole lot easier. Now, transitioning completely off of nursing, because I was part-time in nursing and doing holistics in my days off, completely transitioning over, that came when we moved out of California. I kind of had no choice. But to actually shift and make that change, that would have probably been really tough.
Oh yeah. Like to stay put and sort of keep one foot in nursing a little bit and let me be smart about this. Yeah, that's it's good. Right? It's that good push. Okay, I have to do this. And that's, you talk about a great recipe for success is a push like that, burn the boats, we're doing this. But aligned with that core vision, passion. This is a direct means to fulfill my purpose on life. That's such a pull that, you don't have time to sit around and well, I don't know, how should I approach it? You know what I mean? There's too much at stake to sit in that for too long, which is great, because that's the worst part when you have all the time in the world. It's sort of I'll think about it. Let me go to work today and I'll think about it later. No, this is it. We got to do this. Let's go. And I want to. So that's great. What have been sort of some of the business, speed bumps that you've you've helped and you've helped that you've had in sort of making that transition?
Well, I think definitely one of them is not knowing anybody where I live. That one was a huge having to network, and I'm a total introvert, and I was the person who would skip school if a presentation was due. So doing this kind of stuff was absolutely not. Being in front of other people and presentations and all that kind of stuff, absolutely not. Me now, I'm I can talk on any subject anytime. You name it and I will be ready, So just that whole thing, how far I've come is just whoa. And I want to tell go ahead, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say how did you make that leap? What was that? Is it just doing the reps and forcing yourself, or?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm a very spiritual person. I was actually, one of the jobs that I had in nursing was clinical informatics. So my job was to teach physicians how to how to take written progress notes and do them computerized. So I had a team of 5 people. And during this time, the girl that used to teach the classes, she decided she was going to go back to school, which meant one of the other ones of us had to go ahead and do the presentations. And so the other girl that I worked with was like, you can do them. And I was like, no, you can do them. And then she goes, no, I wrote the manual. You can do them. And I was like, all right, fine. And then I remember like praying about it, thinking, oh my God, you're going to have to help me because this is so out of my comfort zone. And then I remember looking up and going, you're not funny. This is not funny, and thinking like, this is so something that I'm going to have to train for. And I know it because I had already been kind of like dabbling in holistic. So I knew looking forward what I was going to have to be able to do. And so this was a great transition to get me very uncomfortable doing it. And I'm going to tell you, like, the worst audience a nurse could have is a doctor because they don't like listening to anybody. And they're like, here's this female nurse, like trying to tell me how to do my job, So it was quite interesting and I did it and I did it well. And then I was like, okay, fine, I could do anything, after that. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah. If you can get through that and that audience and do, and then just have to again and again and again. Oh yeah. That's great training ground. And it is. It's sort of like, all right. And again, common theme here I'm seeing, which is like, gotta do it, but embracing that we have to do it. So, and then what can I get out of it? I know this is important. So let me not just get through it, but let me get better at it. Let me, really dig in and do that. Cause I had a similar thing. I actually wanted to be good at all of this stuff and was the furthest thing in the world from it. And it was like, okay, let me learn this stuff. Let me do it. But it wasn't until, finding those places where I would put myself, like I wouldn't have done this a year ago, but I'm going to do it because I know it's going to be uncomfortable. And I know that I have to do it every single week or every other day. And it's just over and over. And there's power in just doing the reps a lot of times, I love that. So that was a big roadblock of not knowing anyone. So you develop that skill and that networking. Where did you go from there? What was that? I know you're talking about your business coach, like telling you like, you got to do this, you got to network. What were those first steps of getting out there?
Yeah. So that's an interesting story as well. So my coach told me, join a BNI. And I'm in the Midwest and I have a very strange niche. And people here are not really, they're still smoking their cigarettes and drinking soda. In California, you don't really see that much. And so I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting. So I actually interviewed 17 different chapters before choosing one because I wanted to be amongst people who understood what I did and I could help them and they could help me. I'm all about giving. I believe in the law of reaping and sowing. And so I feel like if I'm willing to give you what you're asking for, then you'd be more willing to give me what I'm asking for. And that's just I feel like that's just the law. And so.
Yeah. But yeah, so you're showing up, you like, I know what a giver I am. I know I'm going to be out there working for you. I want to make sure the you I'm looking at and out there for is willing and able to reciprocate.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's huge. And so like looking at that, like you looked at the different groups and I'm sure you've been in networking where the energy is either awkward, stagnant, cold, or it's energetic, fun, welcoming. It's different. And so I'm very perceptive. I'm really good at reading body language. And so, you can kind of tell whether they're open to what you do or not so open to what you do. And I know that if they're not really open to what I do and how I help people, they're not going to be an asset for my business. And I'm not going to be able to be an asset to them because there's going to be that like barrier. And so I looked for a group that they were very open, they were welcoming, and they were absolutely amazing. And I was there for 3 years, and that's really how I ended up meeting 2,000 people like within that time. I came into that networking group not knowing anybody in my area. I had the highest amount of referrals and closed the most business as far as like not as much as not money wise, but the amounts. I had the most. I had a 96% close rate, which was huge for that group. So
For
very cool.
anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Oh yeah. And during that time, did you and maybe you don't have one from being on the receiving end of your introductions, which are so great. It feels like you're not only intentional and purposeful with it, like you have a system somewhere you're managing all that. And do you have that? And did that sort of like formalize during that time?
So I was at BNI, and so they have their own like little system where they have like the BNI Connect. So that's what we end up using. Currently now I do use a CRM, and that's been game changer for me. I feel like everything that I do is now um, monitored, tracked, and recorded, and very visual, and I can check my values, and I can know where I need different things, and it's been a game changer. It keeps me very organized. I'm not by nature an organized person unless I'm working as a nurse.
Yeah, and I know like yeah, there's different areas like I'll show up and I know this stuff, but then yeah, in my own life like it's off the rails because I don't have to be now, so I'm gonna it's gonna go where it's gonna go. That's great though. Like yeah, having that formalized spot because again, just like a lot of things when you can take control, just like we're talking with health and everything else, when you can feel in control with it, oh, it's so empowering. And it's actually, I think you get through that little hump of like, oh, I've got to do this. I've got to put this thing in order and all that. Once you get past that, then oh, this is actually really nice. And then it's just maintenance and going down the list. So that's good. That's good. So how right now is that still like your primary way to get business is through your network right now? Are you doing any other marketing initiatives or anything?
So I currently, like, I have several avenues of ways I get business. So I get a lot of business by referral, which is my favorite way. They're super warm. Somebody's already talked them into what I do, and explained it to them. And so when I meet with them, it's like, yeah, sign me up. I want you to do what you do. And then I do a lot of networking. So I'm currently in about 4 groups right now that are a great sales force for me. They know what I do. Most of them have experienced what I do. And so they know how to refer me very well. And I feel like I can reciprocate to them very easily because we all know each other, and I know what they do. So it's nice. It's a win-win. And then I do some online networking as well. Most of my business comes from referral.
Gotcha. Yeah, and you got a strong presence on LinkedIn for sure. And watching your great videos and education content there. Is that starting to really take shape and kind of start some conversations for you?
It really is. And I've actually teamed up with some other holistic practitioners, which is, they're phenomenal. And like together we have like 50 years of experience or more, which is so great. And so we've put together different courses and just ways to help educate the public more on what it is that we love and are passionate about, how to help heal your own body, and just so many other different things that people are struggling with right now. Emotional eating, or things like inner child work that needs to be done. You've got like all this trauma that you've brought over, lots of suitcases and baggage, and you're like, can I get rid of this? Yeah, absolutely. Let's teach you how to do it, in a way that's like not where you have to like dig it up and, talk about the past and all that stuff, but just to kind of see where it's showing up in your life and how it's affecting your relationships, your work ethic, and keeping you stuck in a weird cycle. So it's very freeing.
Oh, that's great. So yeah, you're really with the whole group and what you're doing, like you're covering every aspect, all these phenomenal and so important human aspects of, you know, and it's strange that we have to even educate on this, right? It's strange that we have to have this holistic thing over here in a corner that we have to, reach out to because no one's heard of it. They don't understand. It's so strange that it isn't in our common vernacular and teaching and all of that of just here's what it means to be human, right? Like we're all going through this stuff and we're all dealing with this. Here's how to get through it. Here's how to be better at it. So I love it all. It's fantastic. I love what you're doing. Who needs to reach out? If someone's out there, what are they experiencing that they are just like, I've got to get a hold of Dena?
Yeah, a great question. So if you are struggling with getting the answers that you want, maybe you know something's going on, but yet you can't get a doctor's appointment for 6 months. That happens quite often. If you have already maybe been to the doctor, but you don't really understand what's going on with your body, or if you've been struggling with something autoimmune for a while, and now, because autoimmunity tends to like to bring all its friends, there's over 200 autoimmune disorders now. And so that, or if you've got some digestive issues and you're eating foods that you have suspect that are not sitting right with you and causing some digestive upset and other symptoms, those 4 avenues are great for me to help you. I sit down with you. We do 2-hour consultations. So it's 2 1-hour consultations. And I sit down with you and I devise an entirely unique plan specific to your body. Like no 2 people have the same plan. I don't do cookie cutter thingies. It is all very specific and unique for you. And so if you have any of those issues or know somebody that is struggling in those areas, I would love to help them at least. And you can reach out for a free consultation with me as well.
And that was the other aspect that I know people are curious about is you can do all of this remotely as well. That doesn't have to be in person there, correct?
That is correct. Yeah. Yeah. Anywhere I can ship the device out and then you connect it to your PC and then I can remote in from my computer and do what I need to do. Yeah.
Awesome. So how do people reach out for that consultation?
The best way to get a hold of me is my cell phone, 760-403-4449, or you can email me at holisticheharmonyforyou@gmail.com, and it is with a W, WHOLISTICHARMONY, the number 4 and the letter U @gmail.com.
Fantastic. And if they're so inclined, they can find you on LinkedIn doing awesome stuff as well, I'm sure. Thank you so much for being on. I love what you do. And your approach to all of it and the reasons behind it. It's just fantastic.
I appreciate you. And thank you so much for having me as a guest. It's an honor. Thank you.
Of course. And we'll see you all next time. Thanks so much for tuning in and being a part of this show. If you want help creating authority building video content or even a client generating show of your own, go to MediaLeadsCo.com and let's connect. I'll talk to you soon on the next Strategy in Action.